We're living in a time where emotions tend to be uh, very extreme. Everyone's feeling a lot right now. And especially for people who haven't been doing a lot of emotional work, haven't been diving into those feelings intentionally. People who've been running from them, people who've been distracting themselves with work or drugs or anything. People who haven't taken the time to get to know their heart, to get to know their feelings, are particularly struggling right now. And if people haven't taken the time to be by themselves, many of those people are struggling right now. And if people haven't taken the time to improve their relationships with families and friends, whoever they're locked down with at this time, then those people are struggling as well. And so in this video, I just want to talk about free will and our emotions. And something that I feel has gone a little astray in our culture. I don't know when it happened. I don't exactly know how it happened. But at some point, we seem to have elevated emotions. Perhaps in part of our journey of healing our relationship to our heart, there's been a lot of suppression of the heart in the history of Western civilization. Perhaps in an effort to heal that and work through that, we have elevated our emotions to a state of authority within ourselves and within our community that is imbalanced and problematic. And people seem to actually believe that they are more correct if there's more emotion involved. And sometimes this is very obvious, and sometimes this is more subtle. And maybe this has been around for a long time. I don't know. But I've been studying Stoicism recently. It seems like a really good time for Stoicism. And I've been noticing a lot of interesting similarities between the Stoics and sort of the emotional intelligence work, the emotional awareness work that I've been interested in for a while. And that might not seem obvious, because on the surface, the Stoics are sort of known as these people who are about rationality and reason over emotions. But as I've been looking at it, I feel like maybe that's a little bit of a misrepresentation. I'm only a very beginner student of Stoicism. I don't know a lot about it, but my first impression is that this is a little bit of a misunderstanding, that they're not really about anti-emotion, that they're about what we might say in nowadays, not letting your emotions get the best of you. Right? We're human. We're going to feel things. You will always feel things. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get angry. You're going to get scared. You're going to get sad. But is this the place from which you are orienting yourself in life? Is this the place from which you are making decisions? Or are you making decisions from another place? Are you facing life from another place? And I think this is ultimately what emotional intelligence and emotional relationship work is all about. It's not about getting to an extreme where the emotions make the decisions, where the emotions define who we are. They define what's right and wrong. No, this isn't the goal. The goal is to be in relationship with our emotions in a healthy and constructive way, which usually means not letting them make the decision. And ultimately, a lot of times what we're doing is creating containers for ourselves to feel things. And those containers are separate from our lives, right? If you're trying to explore your feelings of anger, you're going to do it in a place where you're not expressing that anger to other people, so you're not hurting people, right? So we keep the emotional self in a container. And this is where I wanted to get to the free will thing, because ultimately this is about self-identity. Do we identify as our emotions? Do we identify as our mind? In meditative practices and mindfulness practices, we talk about this all the time, that we are not our thoughts, that our thoughts are not us, that we are the observer of our thoughts, and that having a healthy mind means being in a relationship with the mind in a way that we know that it is not us. And then we know that it is not as smart as it wants us to think it is. The same is true for the heart. What we are feeling isn't us. It's what we are feeling. And being in healthy relationship with our hearts means knowing that that's not who we are. That this is what we're feeling. And that just like the mind wants to convince us that it's more intelligent than it actually is, the heart wants to convince us that it's more intelligent than it actually is. And so do we identify with I, the mind? Do we identify with I, the heart? Or do we identify with I, the observer? Right? Because I, the mind, it has beliefs, it has conditionings. And I, the heart, it has traumas. I, the observer, it has free will. I, the observer, is the only I that has free will. So what does this mean? What does this mean for free will in the time of the coronavirus? It means this is a really good time to observe our emotions, but not to let them get the best of us. It means this is a good time for us to go deep into that work, if we haven't already, of feeling what we're actually feeling. This is a great time to pick up journaling. I've been doing a lot of journaling lately. This is a great time. There are countless prompts out there that you can just pick up and just start journaling. Write for 20 minutes a day about all the things that you're feeling. It's amazing how powerful it is when you do this. You don't even need a prompt. Just start writing. Just sit there at the computer and start writing. And most people get into a flow at some point. When it's just, you just don't, the goal is not to think about it too much, right? You just allow whatever comes out. You're not crafting a masterpiece here. No one has to read this. Just let the words come out. Let yourself feel and express. And a lot of people find themselves getting in a flow. And you do that for 20 minutes and you have a better understanding of your emotional self. And because that emotional energy has been able to move, you have a more clear understanding of all the variables at play, right? And so the observer can take a larger perspective than the heart or than the mind. But the mind and the heart need to be heard, otherwise they try to control. So this is a great time to give your heart an opportunity to be heard, so that it's not striving for control. Because right now, truth is, there's a lot of things that we can't control. And it's scary. It's a scary time. And it's understandable. Our hearts have a lot to say right now. Let them say it. Let them be heard. But know that that's not who you are. Know that that is not the origin of free will. The origin of free will is that which is listening to your heart express itself. So, that's my video. Thanks. I hope that helps.